Good afternoon, everyone. iTech India welcomes all the participants for today's special NDLS session. Today's topic is FAQs on DTG-based regimens, and we have three speakers with us today. Dr. Chinmoy Das, she is currently working as the Deputy Director CST with the National AIDS Control Organization. Dr. Reshu Agarwal, she is currently working as the Public Health Specialist with CDC India office. And Dr. Anwar Parvez Syed, who is currently working as the Country Director with iTech India. We welcome you all for today's session.
Thank you, Shweta. We'll ask Dr. Chinmoy to start, please.
Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. Please bear with us.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I thought I was audible. Okay. I'm sorry about this technical glitch. Well, good afternoon, everyone. So we have kept this special session on the FAQs for dolutegravir-based regimens because in the last few months, you might be noticing we have issued so many orders from NACO regarding the dolutegravir-based regimens. And since 2018, when WHO came up with the guidelines for DTG-based regimens, then RTRG also recommended this. And then it was decided that we need to shift or switch most of our patients to the DTG-based regimens. So for all HIV positive adults, adolescents, and the children weighing more than 20 kg or aged more than 6 years, they should be either switched or shifted to DTG-based regimen. That was the decision. So, and it should be the preferred regimen for most of the patients unless contraindicated for some reason, or if the patients opt out. And this shift was decided to be based on certain criteria, right, like viral load results, the past history of treatment, and of course, depending on the stock position of different ARV drugs under the program. So we did a phase-wise rollout. And right now, DTG and the fixed dose combination TLD are available in all ART centers. And we want this transition to be smooth. Of course, since the time we have started issuing these OMs, there have been many queries in your minds. So this is a wonderful opportunity for all of you to speak out all the queries that you have in your mind and to clarify all your doubts. Of course, based on the previous NDLS, RDLS, and of course the queries that we have been getting from the states, we have tried to compile a few questions which were coming up again and again. So though our phase-wise transitions have happened over the last 4 or 5 months, I'm not sure if we have tried to clarify all your doubts or if they are still pending. So we have Dr. Reshu and Dr. Anwar are there. I think Dr. Rewari is also going to join, and we also have some other experts whom we can also try to take whose opinion on some of the things if we are not able to sort out your queries on some contexts. Okay, so with this, good luck. So please keep asking whatever questions you have. And please try to ensure that by the end of this hour, you have clarified most of your doubts. Okay, thank you. Shweta, we can invite Dr. Reshu now to take up with the slides.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Reshu, ma'am?
Dr. Anwar will go first.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Chinmay, and thanks, Dr. Reshu. Welcome, Rewari sir, and welcome everyone in this session. As Chinmay ma'am mentioned, we already had a couple of NDLS and also many regional distance learning seminars on this particular topic, DTG introduction. This session will basically focus on the frequently asked questions. So in the first part, we will discuss how the NACO introduced various memorandums for smooth rollout of DTG and also transition to DTG based regimen. And in the second part, we will talk about frequently asked questions. And in the third part, there are a couple of slides on job aids, which can be used at ART centers in the form of, there are many like flowchart and FAQs. So which can be used by ART center staff, as well as there is a aid on for patients use. So all those things will be circulated soon by NACO. So this is just to introduce those job aids in this particular session. Next slide, please. So let's start with very simple and straightforward question. What is dolutegravir? I would request the participants to use the chat box just to avoid multiple or any disturbances. Actually, your audio has been kept on mute. So for now, there will be a slide on discussions or additional questions where you can raise hand or you can use the chat box to ask to write your question so that can be discussed. So please make use of the chat box to give answers and also to raise your questions. Thank you. Next slide, please. Dolutegravir, we all know that it has recently been introduced into the national program. WHO is recommending it since 2018, considered to be very potent and effective drug. The group to which dolutegravir belongs is called as integrase strand transfer inhibitor, or simply known as integrase inhibitor. This name obviously is coming from the enzyme which is being suppressed by dolutegravir drug. On the right hand side, the picture which you are seeing, many of you might have seen this picture many times before. So in the viral replication cycle, if you see, there is a stage when in the nucleus of, in the cell cytoplasm, when the single-stranded RNA of HIV is converted into proviral DNA. So this proviral DNA is integrated into the human DNA, which is in the nucleus. So this integration is brought about by this enzyme integrase. So what this drug or group of drug does is to inhibit the action of integrase, and that is how the drugs in this group, dolutegravir and raltegravir, which we have already used in the program, are called as integrase inhibitors or integrase transfer inhibitors. Next slide, please. While we use these short forms in our day-to-day practice, we say DTG and TLD. So there are so many short forms we use very commonly into the NACO program and also at our ART centers. Sometimes for our staff, it might become a bit confusing. because for the other drugs, we don't use as a single drug. We usually call Zidodin or Stavudin or Lamivudin. Sometimes this confusion might happen that is there any, or how this DTG is different from TLD. This is very basic again. Next, please. So to avoid this confusion, let's make it very clear since beginning that DTG is a single antiretroviral drug, or it is a short form which is used for dolutegravir. As I said, it is an integrase strand transfer inhibitor, while TLD is a fixed dose combination of 3 drugs, that is tenofovir, lamivudin, and dolutegravir. And the doses which you are seeing, that is then standard doses which is used in the fixed dose combination of TLD, which is being used into the national program. Next, please. Now, previously, this has been a question in many of the staff of ART Center. Whenever patients used to come with the PI-based regimen, they used to, or some of our people used to think that it is a second line treatment which patient is on, because the way treatment regimen were planned since beginning, the PIs initially were used only in second line or in the third line, when later third line came into picture. But later on, PIs were also recommended for the first line ART. So basically, when we use dolutegravir, so the question is that is dolutegravir recommended as a part of first, second, and third line regimen all? Next slide, please. So the answer is yes. Dolutegravir based regimen will be preferred first line drug for ART initiation under the program, and various combination of DTG are recommended as alternate first line, second line, and third line. So it will depend on when the drug is being started in a patient. So whatever regimen, and before that, if we see the definition of first line, second line, and third line, so whatever regimen we start to a patient first will become first line regimen for that particular patient. And when the patient fails on that regimen, so sequentially the next line of regimen we use will become second line regimen for that patient. And when second line fails, the next regimen which we start will become third line for that particular patient. So DTG will be used in all these lines of treatment. Obviously, having said that, every patient may have a different first line for themselves, but the preferred first line for all patients, unless until there are any contraindications or recommendations of not to use DTG, TLD, that is tenofovir, lamivudin, and dolutegravir, will become preferred first line treatment for all categories of patients in the NACO program. Next, please. So what dolutegravir based regimens are recommended by NACO, and what are the indications of these regimens? So there were all these lots of combinations we have used since 2004. If you see, there are multiple combinations which have been tried, PI based, NNRTI based combinations. But with introduction of dolutegravir, we will be using a very less number of combinations. So which has many benefits of its own in terms of maintaining supply chain, in terms of its usage, in terms of the usage in a specific group of populations. Shweta, can you go to the next slide, please? So currently, DTG, there will be 5 DTG based regimen which are being recommended by the national program, and they are prescribed as either first line or alternate first line, second line, or third line. So the 5 regimens will be tenofovir, lamivudin, dolutegravir, fixed dose combination, TLD, which will be a preferred first line. But if for some reasons that cannot be used, then abacavir, lamivudin, dolutegravir will be next combination. So where abacavir, lamivudin is a fixed dose combination and dolutegravir will be a separate drug. Then zidovudin, lamivudin, dolutegravir, where zidovudin and lamivudin will be in combination and dolutegravir will be a separate drug. Then dolutegravir plus lopinavir ritonavir, DLPVR. So dolutegravir will be a separate drug and lopinavir ritonavir will be in the combination. And similarly, dolutegravir plus darunavir ritonavir, usually used in the third line. So where again dolutegravir will be a separate drug. As NACO is now releasing office memorandums for usage of all these combinations, there are transition OMs which have been we have been receiving, and also regarding newer initiation. So recently OM talks about the preferred first line ART for newer initiation in all patients, which will be TLD combination. Next, please. So this was the first OM office memorandum which came in the month of May, and this was regarding replacing raltegravir with dolutegravir. Again, now I think all of us has exhausted raltegravir from our centers and are using dolutegravir as a single drug, mostly in patients of third line, but also in some cases of alternate second line. Next, please. After this was the next OM which we received from NACO, which talks about the switch or shift of patients who are on ZLN based regimen to TLD combination. And this was all those guidelines were given by NACO in terms of how to do it, doing viral load, and what are the measures in doing all these things. So we will be discussing few things in the later part of the presentation, but this was the OM which was received in the month of July. Next. Then recently, last month or in the month of September, this detailed office memorandum was released, which talks about regimen-wise guidance for transitioning to the DTG-based regimen. So we'll be discussing this particular OM in a bit more details. Next, please. So as per the current OM, which was released in the last month, the preferred first line will be a combination of tenofovir, lamivudine, and dolutegravir. And the TLD will be the abbreviation which will be used for that. And this will be for all ART initiation of ART naive PLHIV, means those who have not taken ART before, including women of childbearing age group. And now the reason behind categorizing this particular population separately, we will be having a detailed question answer on that particular group of like women of childbearing age group as well in next few slides. Next, please. So first line ART, preferred first line for all patients who are being initiated with age more than 10 years and weight more than 30 kg will be tenofovir, lamivudine, and dolutegravir. Just to remember, because it is difficult to remember these tables as it is unless until you apply some logic to it. So tenofovir is given only if the age is more than 10 years, because tenofovir we are using in the combination which is of 300 milligram. That's why this TLD combination which we are using as a FDC, fixed dose combination, will be used only in the patients who are more than 10 years of age. So that is not because of dolutegravir, it is because of tenofovir use. And this combination will be used once in a day at bedtime or any other fixed time as decided by patient's convenience. So most of our patients who are already on ART, usually they are used to taking drugs either in the morning or in the evening. So similarly, you can recommend them to use these drugs either in the morning or in the evening, and weight more than 30 kg. If the patient's body age is more than 10 years, but weight is less than 30 kg, so in such patients, we won't be able to use tenofovir. So abacavir will be a substitution for that. Then abacavir 600 milligram, lamivudine 300 milligram will be a fixed dose combination used as once daily tablet. And along with that, there will be dolutegravir once daily at the same time as AL is taken. So both these tablets need to be taken at the same time. So female in reproductive age group who do not want to use TLD, so there will be some instances which will be discussed in details after a few slides. So in such patients, TLE will be again a preferred treatment. And as it goes with the previous guidelines, if the patient is exposed to nevirapine in past, where efavirenz cannot be used because the patient has HIV-2 or 1 or 2 infection, then in such patient, tenofovir, lamivudine, and lopinavir, ritonavir will be the combination of choice. We all know that if the creatinine clearance is reduced or because of any nephropathy, or in such patients, we won't be able to use tenofovir if the creatinine clearance is less than 50 ml per minute. So in such patients, abacavir based regimen or ART need to be given. But for lamivudine, also dose adjustments are required. So as per creatinine clearance, which lamivudine need to be adjusted, and which has been given clearly in the guidelines how that need to be done. So with this combination, dolutegravir 50 milligram OD need to be given. Then PLHIV who are on rifampicin based anti-TB treatment, because rifampicin interacts with dolutegravir, an additional dose of DTG 50 milligram need to be provided after 12 hours. So for example, if the patient is taking TLD combination in the night and patient is already having TB infection, then additional 50 milligram of DTG need to be given in the morning. So this BD dose of dolutegravir need to be continued only until the patient is on rifampicin, usually for 6 months in the TB program. So when the rifampicin is discontinued, this additional dose of DTG also need to be discontinued, and OD dose or TLD combination will be continued. Next, please. Weight less than 20 kg, and in case of children, now there will be again a question and slide which will explain about the pediatric ART. So I won't go in details in this slide, but just to make a comment here that DTG can be given in children if their age is more than 6 years and weight is more than 20 kg. All the other details will be discussed after a few slides. Next, please. Second line regimen, now many of the patients are on second line now, and most of them are on PI based second line ART. So those who are currently on PI based second line ART as per the NACO directives, they will be continued on PI based second line ART because we have enough stock of PI still available. So until that stock is exhausted, the new guidelines won't come regarding that. But PLHIV who are suppose now failing on current first line and also co-infected with TB, they should be switched to DTG based regimen after obviously SASEP review. Any patient who is failing on ART first line will be undergoing viral load and all those things and will be referred to SASEP. And when SASEP decides that second line need to be started, if this patient who is failing on first line has TB co-infection which needs rifampicin, so such patients will be started on DTG based second line. Then PLHIV who are co-infected with TB and currently already on PI based regimen will be transitioned to DTG based regimen if rifabutin is not available. Next slide. So we'll see some details of this. So if the first line is zidovudine containing like ZLN, ZLE, they are on NNRTI or PI based first line like ZL lopinavir ritonavir or ZL atazanavir ritonavir. If these patients fail the first line, then the second line which will be started in these patients will be tenofovir, lamivudine, and dolutegravir fixed dose combination. Now, if the patient has any contraindication to tenofovir, then abacavir will be its replacement. Abacavir and lamivudine will be given as OD, and dolutegravir will 50 milligram will be added to it. It is not FDC. It is will be another drug which will be added to abacavir lamivudine. Then tenofovir containing first line regimen like TLE, TLN, or TL lopinavir ritonavir, TL atazanavir ritonavir. For these and also abacavir containing regimen, if that is being used in the first line, if these patients fail, then the second line will become zidovudine and lamivudine. Fixed dose combination will be given as BD dose, and dolutegravir will be added as an OD dose. If because of anemia, if we are not able to use zidovudine, if HB is less than 9 gram%, then lopinavir ritonavir will be used as a replacement along with the dolutegravir 50 milligram. If the patient was on PI based first line along with tenofovir or abacavir containing regimen, then ZLD will become the second line. And if we are not able to use zidovudine, then because of anemia, then dolutegravir and darunavir and ritonavir will be added, will with dolutegravir. So which looks like a third line, but actually it is being used as a second line. In patients who are multi-NRTI exposed, who were exposed to zidovudin and tenofovir and abacavir or stavudine, so these are multi-NRTI exposed patients, and an NRTI based first line if they have taken in past, then lopinavir ritonavir will be used along with dolutegravir 50 milligram. One thing to note here is that atezanavir ritonavir is not recommended to be used with dolutegravir. So that is the reason whenever you use dolutegravir and you want to use a PI and you want to choose between atezanavir and lopinavir, it will be lopinavir which will be selected. Then if multi-NRTI exposed patients are on PI based first line, these patients who have already taken either atezanavir or lopinavir in their first line, then for the second line, the darunavir will be used as second line along with ritonavir boosting, and dolutegravir will be added to that regimen. Similarly, as we mentioned before, PLHIV who are co-infected with the TB, who will receive BD dose of dolutegravir as long as they are on TB treatment, and if patient is co-infected with infected with hepatitis B, will receive additional TL if they are not already receiving tenofovir, because here tenofovir will be used for treatment of hepatitis B and not HIV. Next, please. I'm seeing some questions which are being asked, so please bear with us. We will take the questions when we will reach to the additional questions slide. So that will come in the end. So transition for the PI based regimen, if the patient is on any of the PI based regimen, then obviously whenever we are doing transitioning, we will do the viral load of these patients. If the viral load is suppressed, then such patients will go on tenofovir, lamivudine and dolutegravir. And if viral load is unsuppressed, they will undergo all that routine process of enhanced adherence counseling and repeat viral load. And if the patient has history of exposure to zidovudin or stavudine and hemoglobin more than 9, then zidovudin will be used as the treatment of choice along with dolutegravir. So ZLD will become the next line treatment for them. And patient has a history of exposure to zidovudin and HB is less than 9, then darunavir ritonavir along with ritonavir boosting will be used along with dolutegravir. Similarly, zidovudin, lamivudine and atezanavir ritonavir or zidovudin, lamivudine and lopinavir ritonavir, if that is the current second line treatment, then again viral load will be done, and these patients will be given if there is no history of exposure or contraindication to tenofovir, or there is contraindication to tenofovir, zidovudin will be used. And if there is history of exposure to TDF or abacavir, then or contraindication to TDF abacavir, then tenofovir and lamivudine and dolutegravir will be used. If it is unsuppressed, again, if the patient has history of exposure or contraindication to TDF abacavir, then darunavir, ritonavir will be used along with dolutegravir. And if the patient has no history of exposure and contraindication to TDF or abacavir, tenofovir, lamivudine and dolutegravir will be used. And similarly, PLHIV who are co-infected with TB and currently on PI based regimen will only be transitioned to DTG based regimen as of now. And as I said before, this PI based regimen currently the patient are on will be continued on PI based regimen, and NACO will receive will release OM related to that whenever the stocks of PIs in second line ART are consumed. And NACO will guide us regarding those patients who are currently on TI in future. Next, please. So third line, patients who are failing on lopinavir, ritonavir, and raltegravir. So such patients, obviously, if they are on this particular regimen, viral load will be done. And based on the viral load, if they are failing, if they are not failing, if viral load is suppressed, they will be continued on lopinavir, ritonavir. But in place of raltegravir, dolutegravir will be given. And if they are unsuppressed, then darunavir, ritonavir will be used as a next line of treatment. And similarly, if darunavir, ritonavir is being used in these patients, and dolutegravir has already been used in the previous line of treatment, or raltegravir has been used in the previous line of treatment. In the next line of treatment, dolutegravir will be used in a BD dose. So please remember that BD dose of dolutegravir is being used in two scenarios. One is when dolutegravir is to be used along with rifampicin, and second, when if the patient has already taken an integrase inhibitor in previous line of treatment, which is either raltegravir or dolutegravir, and if you still want to use dolutegravir in the next line of treatment, then the dolutegravir will be used as BD dose or twice a day dose. Multi-NRTI exposed patients with neurological failure who need second line initiation, lopinavir, ritonavir along with dolutegravir. As I mentioned, atazanavir won't be used along with dolutegravir. That is why it will be always either lopinavir, ritonavir with DTG or darunavir, ritonavir with DTG. And second line failure patients, so preferred third line will be darunavir, ritonavir along with DTG 50 milligram. Next, please. So this transition table has already been discussed, and and this is as per the second OM. So I won't repeat this again. I would request Dr. Reshu to take over from this point onwards. Next, please.
Thanks so much, Dr. Anwar. So I think in the same sequence, like we have more questions which were asked in the previous sessions also. So there's a common question which is asked, like, why is program transitioning all the patients to DTG based regimen? And I think even in the next slide, Shweta, please. Even in our previous sessions, we have responded this question that DTG has immense benefits like over other ARV drugs in terms of rapid viral load suppression, fewer toxicities and side effects, and very minimal discontinuation rates because the toxicities are very low. The drug is very potent. There are no known treatment emergent resistance across trials. There are very minimal drug interactions between DTG and other concomitant treatments. It has a very high genetic barrier. It's also effective against HIV too. And then it is also about the simplification of the regimen in the program and harmonization of all the regimen across all the patients, so that overall our regimen becomes simple. So for now, because I know Dr. Anwar took you to all these through all these tables, and it was really difficult to to understand all these tables in the very beginning. But once this transition would happen, then most of our patients would be on DTG based regimen, and the things will get very simpler at that go. But for I think for next 6 months, things would be very very difficult for you to handle. There would be you would need more guidance, and you can always refer back to these slides when you have problems, because you will have multiple of groups of patients who would need a very different approach. But once this is streamlined, things would be very simple, and then from there, I think our ARV regimen would be very simplified. Next slide. Now the next question is, can DTG based regimen be used in children? What do you think? Can I have some responses in the chat box? Next slide, Shweta. Yeah. So WHO recommends that the children who are more than 6 years of age and weighing more than 20 kg, they can be given DTG-based regimen very safely. And in fact, now the data is coming even for the use of DTG in children with lower age bands as well as weight bands. But we will have to wait for the drug formulations to become available in our country. So as per the national guidelines, which have been the OMs which have been released by NACO as of now, the children who are weighing more than 6 years, more than 20 kg, and who have aged more than 6 years are to be initiated on a DTG-based regimen. So a DTG-based regimen would be a preferred regimen for all these children. Also for the children who are on adult dosage of Zetalin, they have to be transitioned to a DTG-based regimen. Next slide. So in this flow diagram, you can see that if a child is more than 10 years of age and weighing more than 30 kg, that child will be given the TLD or the tenofovir, lamivudine and dolutegravir 50 mg dose, which is like no same as the adult dose. But if the child is less than 30 kg of weight or having any renal disease in this age group, or if the child is 6 to 10 years of age or weighing between 20 to 30 kg, what you can see in the middle arm, then these children would be given abacavir, lamivudine and dolutegravir. And if the child is less than 6 years of age and less than 20 kg, then they would be given abacavir, lamivudine and lopinavir ritonavir. Next slide. So should viral load be done before shifting the patients to a non-DTG from a non-DTG based regimen to a DTG based regimen? Next slide. Yeah, so program says that all patients who are already on ART, they should be undergoing a viral load test before they are shifted to a DTG based regimen. So if they're viral, after their viral load testing, if they are found to be suppressed, if the viral load is less than 1000 copies per milliliter, in that case, based on that single viral load, patients would be transitioned to a DTG based regimen. But if the patients are unsuppressed, that is, if their viral load is more than 1000 copies per ml, then these patients need to undergo enhanced adherence counseling for 3 months, and they should have more than 95% adherence, and their second viral load should be done to assess their suppression rate. And based on the result of the second viral load, decision has to be taken. Next slide. So are there any special considerations for using DTG-based regimen among TB patients? If the patient is on TB treatment, do we need to have some special considerations? Next slide. Yeah, so as Dr. Anwar already discussed, so what happens is like if the patient is on a rifampicin-based regimen, then rifampicin actually reduces the absorption or the bioavailability of dolutegravir, and that's why these patients need to be given an additional DTG 50 milligram per day. So for patients who are on rifampicin-based ATT, they should be getting additional 50 milligram dose or a 50 milligram 50 milligram DTG dose twice a day. But if the patient is already on a BD dose, like for example, the patient who was on RAL and was failing on RAL, and if they have been shifted to a DTG based regimen, then they would be on a BD dose of DTG. These patients don't need additional dose. But the other patients who would be on a single or a OD dose of DTG would need to be supplemented with DTG 50 milligram additional dose at a time at a different time when they are taking regular dose. So if they are taking, suppose they are on TLD, and if they are taking TLD in the evening, then they should take this DTG 50 milligram additional dose in morning. If these patients are taking their TLD or the regular dose in morning, then they should be getting this additional 50 mg dose in evening. And this additional dose has to be stopped once the TB treatment is stopped. Next slide. What are some of the adverse effects of DTG? Next slide. So when we talk about DTG, it is comparatively a very well-tolerated drug, and it has very fewer side effects. Most of the side effects which DTG has are like self-limited and are very mild in nature. The common ones are headache, nausea, vomiting, tiredness, dizziness, and sleep disturbances. Some patients do talk about, like, do complain about insomnia, and the best way to tackle that is to prescribe DTG based regimen in these patients in morning. In rare circumstances, DTG might cause some allergic reactions or liver problems, but these kind of side effects are very rare. And if these are being reported, then patients should be advised to come back to the ART centers as soon as possible and consult you. But one thing we should always remember that DTG is never given alone. So patient would be on other ARV drugs along with DTG, and also patient might be on some other concomitant treatments because of OI also. So we have to be like, whenever patient complains of any adverse events or any adverse effects after taking the drug, we should exclude the side effects of other ARVs or other treatment also while managing the patient. Next slide. So are there any special considerations for women of childbearing potential? And how should these women be counseled? I think this question is is asked in most of the training programs. Next slide. So as we discussed in some of the previous slides, that DTG has immense benefits in terms of viral load suppression, having a very high genetic barrier, and it actually reduces the chances of transmission to baby and also to the partner, and also helps in improving the maternal outcomes. In some of the studies, some potential risk associated with DTG in form of neural tube defects has been reported, but the latest data which was presented in the International AIDS Conference this year showed that this risk was found to be comparatively very less than initially anticipated. So in terms of numbers, this risk was only 2 per 1,000 women. Earlier, this risk was anticipated as 3 per 1,000 women. And now, I mean, if you see, if the patient is on non-DTG based ARV regimen, even in that case, there is risk of 1 per 1,000 women. So there is always some risk related to neural defects with all ARVs. And now this, the difference between DTG based ARV and other ARVs is decreasing, and perhaps we will have more data available in future for which we will have to wait. So now I think since the data shows that the risk is not that high, it actually paves way for broader use of DTG based regimen in women of childbearing potential. And what WHO suggests regarding the use of DTG in women, it says that the women should be given appropriate information about the benefits as well as the small risk which is associated with DTG. And they should also be provided medical guidance that is appropriate for the situation of that woman, and she should be supported in a informed choice so that she can make a correct choice for her situation. So that is very important, that we have to counsel our patients in a very neutral manner and give them all the information pertaining to the benefits and slight risk of DTG. Next slide. So you might come across different scenarios when you're dealing with the women of childbearing potential. So there might be some women who might want to become pregnant in future. For these women, as I already said, that you have to counsel these women and give them proper information pertaining to benefits and risk of DTG. And even after explaining all these immense benefits of DTG as well as risk of DTG, even then, if the women wishes not to be on a DTG based regimen, then other options can be explored. Then there could be a case where women is already on a DTG based regimen and become pregnant. In such cases, women should be properly counseled and they should be guided to continue on the same regimen. Their regimen should not be changed. Then all newly diagnosed women, pregnant women, I mean, because in our ART practice, we come across the cases who are diagnosed in their first trimester or second trimester, and then they have to be initiated on ART. So for initiation in such women, DTG based regimen would be the preferred regimen. And all women who are pregnant and are not on DTG based regimen, they should be shifted to a DTG based regimen as soon as possible. So these are our guiding principles for different scenarios. Next, please. I think we can move to the next. So are there any dietary considerations for taking DTG? No, so DTG can be taken like no without any regards of meal, like no. So it does not matter like no whether you're taking it with meals or without meals. But DTG interacts with some of the medicines like calcium and iron, and then therefore it should be like no taken either 2 hours before or 6 hours after antacids, which have magnesium or aluminium in them, or laxatives or other oral supplements such as iron, calcium. Next. Is there any dose adjustment required for the cases of renal sufficiency or hepatic insufficiency, or as per weight in adults? So for the cases of renal insufficiency, no dose adjustment is required. Patients can be given the normal doses, but like no, if they are on dialysis, then their dosage should be given post dialysis only. Even in the case of hepatic insufficiency, dose adjustment is not required. Or if the patient is more than 30 kg, they can get a 50 milligram of DTG as such. But the only contraindication in this case is if the patient is having a Child-Pugh score of C, then they should not be started on a DTG-based regimen. Next. So is it important for you to take the history, the medicine history of the patient and other comorbidities while you're starting a patient on a DTG-based regimen? Answer is yes. And as we discussed earlier also, though DTG has very few drug interactions, but like for whatever interactions it has, it is important to take that history and then decide your managed plan accordingly. And the most important drug interactions related to DTG are in the patients who are having diabetes. So the dose of metformin should not increase more than 1 gram per day. Also, as I discussed, if the patient is on some antacids or multivitamins, these should be either taken 2 hours before or 6 hours after DTG. And also, the patients who are on TB treatment, rifampicin containing TB treatment, they would need an additional dose of 50 milligram DTG. And therefore, it is important that you take these history while you're starting a patient on a DTG-based regimen. So what should a patient do if he or she has missed a dose or forgot to take a dose? In that case, they should be counseled that if they forget to take a dose, they should take it as soon as they remember about it. But if it is a time about for the next pill, next dose, then they should skip that dose so that they don't take 2 pills at a time. Next. Can DTG-based regimen be stored at room temperature? Yeah, so there are no specific requirements with regards to the storage of DTG-based regimens. They can be stored at room temperature, but in a tightly closed container, and should not be kept in direct contact of heat or moisture or in direct sunlight. And there is a desiccant packet in the medicine box, which should not be removed by the patient. So that's, and that is true for all the other ARV drugs also. So it's the same counseling which you give for the other ARV drugs. You have to give the same messages to the patients. Next. So now, because we know, after all these sessions which you are having, and also on various WhatsApp groups, there were lots of questions which were coming from the field. And NACO understands that there is a need for a constant hand-holding and guidance from NACO's side, and also some sort of job aid so that you can explain your patients better about DTG-based regimen. And therefore, NACO is planning to roll out these job aids to support you with the patient management. So this first job is for the healthcare providers at the ART centers. That means for all the staff at the ART center. So these job aids, they have very common messages, what we discuss in these slides. These messages are there in these job aids, and the entire ART staff can go through these job aids and can understand about the DTG based regimen better. Next. So this is a counseling script which has been designed, and this is to support the counselors. Like whenever you are doing the counseling of the patients, to initiate them on DTG based regimen or to shift them to a DTG based regimen. So this is a ready script which can be easily used by counselors to address the queries of the patients and give them standard messages pertaining to DTG based regimen. This script also deals with the specific scenarios, like if the patient is also on TB treatment, or if there's a woman with childbearing potential, or if there's a diabetic patient. So this is a reference sheet for all the counselors which they can use while doing the counseling. Next, please. So this is a job aid which has been designed for the patients, and it can be given to the patients as a leaflet, so that patients also know like what is DTG or what is TLD, and what all precautions they do need to take, and if they are on some concomitant treatment, they should inform the ART doctor. So those kind of messages are there in this sheet, and it can again this would be available with your SACs, and would be available to you also, and you can use it to disseminate it to your patients. Next. This is a sheet which describes all the frequently asked questions, and I mean, most of the questions which we discussed today are part of this sheet. So this is a very good ready reckoner for the medical officers on the frequently asked questions. So all these job aids would be made available to SACs and also on the NACO website, and you should be able to refer to these job aids. Now we will open for the questions.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Reshu and Dr. Anwar. Yeah, as Dr. Reshu showed you right now, so all these job aids are almost done. So we are, it's under approval process. So within maybe a week or two, you will get all these job aids. So some will try to ensure that some of these are printed, but in the COVID scenario, of course, we're trying to cut down on that part. However, as time progresses, we'll make sure that you do get some hard copies of the printed material wherever possible. However, all the soft copies would be available in the website, and also they'll be mailed to each of you. So this is about the job aid part. And please go through all the OMs and these slides, the regimens, how to switch, when to switch, which drug to prefer. So in what condition, what lab investigations to do before you shift or switch. I mean, this is a very comprehensive presentation. So you can also have access to this presentation. And of course, the frequently asked questions will definitely encompass most of these questions. So well, thank you so much for your patient hearing. We'll now take up the questions that have come up in the chat box. So Shweta or Praveen, if you could read out these questions, then we can answer.
Yeah, ma'am, just 2 minutes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I think some of the queries were answered in subsequent slides. However, we can definitely read them. So in the meantime, when Shweta is trying to compile all the questions, can I request Dr. Rewari sir for a couple of just comments on this?
Thank you, Dr. Chinmoy. Thank you very much. In fact, this is a very exhaustive exercise that has been done. And I think this should be very useful when we are moving to a new regimen. And it would be very good to see these leaflets which have been prepared. And if you can email that to me, that will be useful. I can see and give my inputs if required. But I am sure this has been done by a teamwork, so it would be very good. And the questions which have been taken up today in the presentation is a very novel method of enlightening, because many people are not able to understand these from the office memorandum only. So it was interesting to listen to this discussion. I do see there are some other questions in the chat box which we need to answer. And one of these questions was basically, can we use 100 milligram of dolutegravir in place of 50 milligram BD. So as of now, the recommendation from WHO is to use the 50 milligram BD. Though recently a paper has been published on the pharmacokinetics of 100 milligram, but since availability is 50 milligram dosage in form of fixed dose combination, people should go on 50 milligram dose in TLD and additional 50 milligram if required for TB or for the previously integrase inhibitor exposed patients.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll definitely share all these job aids with you before we disseminate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Shweta has put up the questions. So Shweta, would you like to read or should I?
Ma'am, I'll read them. Yeah. Patient on ZLN for more than 10 years at weight more than 30 kilo is transition to TLD can be done.
Yes, I think that's what.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, definitely getting a kidney function test done would be advisable before doing that.
And also for transition, we will do viral load, which
Viral load
we
also.
see as applicable.
Yeah. Some pediatric
So the
patient.
adult guidelines would be applicable.
Yeah. Some pediatric patient are on adult ZLN and their weight is more than 25 kg but less than 30 kg. What to do in this condition?
So again, tenofovir we won't be able to use tenofovir in such cases. So they will be continued on sitavodin.
Is there a possibility of providing MMD for first line TLD regimens?
We are right now going to, it's under process. We will definitely issue an order. Till then, please hold on. And also we are starting to do adverse effect monitoring for DTG based regimens. So initially we want you to give for 1 month and then it will be decided subsequently. Please wait for an order in this regard.
Okay.
Dr. Chinmay, I would just like
Sir.
to add, whenever a person is getting TLD either in transition or as a fresh patient, I think they will have to be on that regimen for at least 6 months or 1 year, whatever is the stable patient definition. So anyway, MMD will be applicable only after the patient is stable.
Stable, right, sir.
That is my opinion on this.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, ARTC KGMU Lucknow has not received this OM dated 17th of September, the latest one.
So we are noting that. We'll make sure that through UP-SACS you get the order.
Yes. A person taking ZLE past 12 years, what is advisable to take DTG based regimen?
Or is
So
it
from-
advisable? Yeah. That is the question.
Yeah, from ZLE to DTG.
Dr. Chinmay, you want to go ahead? Because efavirenz talk, I think it is related to.
Yeah, efavirenz anyway, it's, we don't have enough stock right now. So that will be one of the reasons. But anyway, we'll have to get a viral load test done and then decide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next. Yeah.
So it depends if the center does not have the stocks of ZLE. Then after doing a viral load, these patients can be shifted to DTG based regimen. But if there are stocks available, then they have to be utilized fast.
Yeah, shall I take the next question?
Yes.
Yeah. We have not yet received DTG single pill to start in TB patients.
This is which hospital? ART Center, Chest Hospital. Can you please let us know
Hyderabad,
which?
I think, right? Chest Hospital is Hyderabad, right? If someone can.
This is Hyderabad, Chest Hospital, Hyderabad.
Yeah, Chest Hospital is Hyderabad.
So I will look into this. I don't think this should have happened, but definitely we'll look into this aspect.
Okay. Abacavir and lamivudine are not available separately in the program. This must be a comment.
Yeah, they are not available separately. In the guideline, there is a provision for the COE to procure individual drugs of abacavir and lamivudine if that is required.
Lamivudine is not available as a single drug formulation. How can we adjust lamivudine dosage for people with renal disease? We only have AL or ZL, but lamivudine is not available as single drug formulation.
Yeah, it is same. I think we responded to
Yeah,
that.
lamivudine actually it's available in the market, though we are not procuring through the program. So it's the COE which has to ensure that if they get single separate doses of lamivudine, I mean, it has to be a local purchase. So if you have a lot of patients, then we should look into this, that COE gets a way of procuring this.
And in some states, SACS actually does that procurement. So it is based on these state SACS. So whenever there is need for any such patients, I think you should reach out to the Joint Director CST of SACS.
So this is which state or which ART center? I mean, it's just a name. Sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah.
So maybe in the chat box, if you can mention
the
which ART
participant,
center you're talking about. Yeah, if you could
or
mention in
maybe
the chat
raise his
box.
hand.
Okay, Shweta, we can go to the next. I'll make sure that we.
Okay. Yeah. There's a statement. I think it's better to repeat serum creating before starting TLT to patients who are on AZT regimen.
Yeah, so before initiation of
question.
tenofovir, usually we do creatinine.
Yeah.
So it is okay.
So it's like viral load and
Why is DTG
serum creatinine?
Why is DTG not recommended along with atazanavir, ritonavir?
It has a drug interaction. It has drug interaction. So there are mid-level drug interaction between atazanavir and dolutegravir. So that's why it interacts with each other. That's why it's not recommended.
Actually, with atazanavir, the dolutegravir area under curve is increased by almost 60%. So that is why it is not recommended. Otherwise, we'll have to reduce the dose of dolutegravir, which is not possible. Over.
What is multi-NRTI exposed? If exposed to AZT, 3TC, D4T, nevirapine and efavirenz, we can start TLD or lopinavir, ritonavir plus DTG. That is if not exposed to tenofovir.
Multi-NRTI, all these, if the patient is usually, zidovudin and stavudin and tenofovir and abacavir, if the patient is exposed to all of them, is called as multi-NRTI exposed, or if the patient is exposed to either zidovudin or stavudin and either tenofovir and or abacavir. So if the patient is exposed to any of the two, then patient will be called as multi-NRTI exposed.
Yeah, I think the next question is the same, again on multi-NRTI. Can I go to the next slide?
Yes.
If a PLHA doesn't have viral load done, then what is the process to take drug?
Is it related to transition?
Yes. In case
right
now I think viral load is available for all ART centers through Metropolis.
Yeah, I mean, if your ART center, you don't have now the SACS has taken responsibility. Every SACS is ensuring that you have certain days for sample collection, because we have tie-up with Metropolis, and they're quite proactively, they have started again. I agree, last 3-4 months, there was a difficulty, but now viral load tests are being done. So please make sure that your SACS, JDCST or any CST in charge has taken note of this. So it can be done.
Okay, then there's a question for women on childbearing age. Should we continue the same regimen to childbearing women if they do not want DTG?
Yeah, in this women also, again, viral load will be done if that is, if transition is being planned. But otherwise, if the patient is suppressed on these regimen, the same regimen will be continued.
If a woman reports in first trimester, can we start TLD?
think the answer is very clear. Yes, if woman is reported in first trimester, the neural tube closes by 28 days. So that period of whatever risk is there of neural tube defect is already gone, because if she's reporting in first trimester, it must be more than 28 days. Though this is not a very common scenario, but still TLD can be provided if she reports in first trimester.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It's usually the scenario that after the first missed period only they report. So that's after the first month. So as sir mentioned, so neural tube defect query issue is resolved by then. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the next question is similar to the previous one. Should we continue the same regimen to childbearing women if they do not want DTG after counseling neural tube defects? This has already been taken. What about patients on ZLE regimen, whether they can be shifted to TLD?
I think this has already been answered.
Yeah.
I would just again say, when we are talking about women who do not want to take DTG, we should actually properly counsel them. And it is very important that our healthcare providers, ART center staff, understand this, that the DTG has got significant advantages in terms of viral load reduction and transmission to the infant, transmission of virus. So it is very important that women understand that DTG will reduce the viral load faster, and even the neural tube defect incidence, which was shown in 2018, has come down significantly in the recent data presented. I think that should go into the DTG leaflets that have been made. Over.
Sure, sir. We have taken care of that part after the TRG meeting. So we have kind of toned down that aspect. So thank you.
Yeah, again, it is of women of childbearing age. Can we skip this question?
Yeah, it's a repeat question.
Yeah.
So I think we have many more questions that have
in
come
the
up.
chat box. I'll check the chat box, ma'am.
You can show the chat box on the screen.
Oh,
that's possible.
I'll check that, ma'am. Is it visible?
No.
No, Shweta, you can go to chat and pull the chat box to the entire screen. I don't know if that is the proper way.
I'll have to. Okay, let me check.
Or Shweta, maybe you can just read out instead of.
No, ma'am. It's coming. Just give me 2 minutes, ma'am. Is it visible?
No.
No. Okay. I think I'll just read out, ma'am.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Patient is on DTG plus lopinavir, ritonavir and diagnosed TB. If ribavirin not available, then what is the dose of DTG, lopinavir, ritonavir with rifampicin based ATT drug? Should I repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Patient is on DTG plus LPVR and diagnosed TB. If ribavirin not available, then what is the dose of DTG plus LPVR with rifampicin based ATT drug?
Okay, so as per this current regimen, it has been clearly said that those who are on PI-based ART will be shifted to DTG-based regimen. And these patients, as they are on rifampicin, they will receive an additional dose of DTG.
Yes. Is there any essential lab investigation needed related to DTG-based regimen before initiation and follow-up?
No.
Yeah, if it's tenofovir, I mean, they need to, of course, know that tenofovir is to be started. So, I mean,
yeah,
serum creatinine has to be done.
Yeah, so all baseline investigations as per guidelines are to be done.
Including liver function test in the baseline.
Okay, next is on viral load, which has already been answered. Why is dolutegravir not recommended along with atazanavir and ritonavir? Has this
That
been
has been
answered?
answered.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If patient is on ZL ATVR and NO-HO exposure
No
to
history of
ADF,
exposure.
no history of exposure, sorry, to TDF, ABC and current plasma viral load less than 1000. So in transition of DTG may be prescribed ZLD or TLD.
Can you read the question again?
Yeah, if a patient is on ZL ATVR and no history of exposure to TDF ABC and current plasma viral load less than 1000, so in transition of DTG may be prescribed ZLD or TLD.
It's
TLD.
TLD.
Yeah.
Okay, then it is on lab
No,
reports.
I think people have to understand two things, that when we are bringing in DTG, we are also moving away from some suboptimal regimen. And of these two suboptimal regimen, nevirapine is one and zidovudine is one, wherever possible. So these are the two broad guidance from WHO, that move away from suboptimal regimen to the extent possible.
Yeah, but just to again make sure that we answered correctly, that ZL ATVR you said, right? So PI-based regimen currently will be continued on the same PI-based regimen as per the current OM.
There's one question on lab report that has already been answered. The follow-up to be done. There's one request that if the leaflets for patient information can be in local language, at least in Hindi.
Yeah, so I think Hindi, ma'am, Dr. Chinmay, so are we translating or?
We are not translating right now. We got it in English. Translation to local language will be done SACS wise.
SACS can be.
So medical officers, I am sure all of them are okay with English, but yes, for the counselors and for the patient information sheets, those will be in local languages.
Yeah, can we prescribe TLD to the patients who are in the second line alternate like TL and ATVR? I'll repeat. Can we prescribe TLD to the patients who are in second line alternate like TL and ATVR?
Again,
Well, it's kind of from ATVR switching to dolutegravir. That's what, right? That's the question.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, Revari sir?
So for now, I think that's not the recommendation.
Yeah,
so, I mean, that is ultimately to be done, but you will have to wait for the NACO OM on that.
Yeah, I just gave a broad principle. That was my response on zidovudine. But yes, if it is not in the office memorandum, it will have to wait.
So all the transition is being done in a phased manner and based on the current stock positions of the drugs which are available in the program. And that's why NACO is issuing these guidance from time to time for transition. So if that guidance has not been issued by NACO for now, you will have to wait for the NACO guidance.
I think that is very clear. Basic principle is to move away, but in a phased manner. That is why there are two office memorandums already issued, which I have seen. So there will be more in pipeline also accordingly. Thank you.
There's a question from Nanded, Maharashtra IRT Center. We have 1 or 2 patients with renal failure who request single dose lamivudine. Not very clear with the question.
So again, regarding availability of single dose lamivudine, I think, so you need to contact SACS if regarding the mechanism of its availability, because I think JJCOE also may not be having it with them, but please confirm that with SACS.
There's again a request to clarify what is meant by multi-NRTI based ART.
I think that was answered, right?
Yeah, but the request has come very recently again.
Multi-NRTI, again, the patients who are exposed to both the groups I'm saying because of some reason like zidovudine and savudine, or if the patient is exposed to tenofovir or abacavir. So of these 4 drugs, if the patient is exposed to zidovudine and tenofovir or zidovudine and abacavir, And in addition, if the patient is exposed to suppose stavudine plus tenofovir or stavudine plus abacavir, these patients will be called as multi-NRTI exposed patients.
Thank you, sir. Okay. At present, only patients on ZLN are to be transitioned to TLD. Patients on TLE, ZLE to be transitioned after specific OMs.
Yes.
Okay. There's a statement, you will have to do super boosting OG, lopinavir, ritonavir also. Okay, next question. If a lady conceives while on TLE, should we transition her to TLD after the risk period provided the viral load is suppressed? If a lady conceives while on TLE, should we transition her to TLD after the risk period provided the viral load is suppressed?
The current OM does not say that from TLE to TLD transition. So currently, even if the viral load is suppressed, I think the woman will continue on TLE.
Yeah, there's a question on MMD, which has already been answered. It says if patients whom we have transitioned on table, who were previously on MMD, can they be given MMD after 1 month of TLD? Rewari sir has already answered this. For being stable, it has to be 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, then it's after counseling, if pregnant women and women of reproductive age refuse to take DTG based, then which based regimen has to be given?
For initiation, as per the OM, it is TLE.
Okay. If
Again, as sir explained, so that has to be like repeatedly counseled to the client.
And for pregnant women, the risk is not for the neural tube defect, because by the time you detect pregnancy, the neural tube would have closed. So somebody who is coming in pregnancy should be initiated on a DTG based regimen.
Yeah, the question is,
If
she's
they
refusing.
If they refuse the,
I think she should be counseled because the risk is not that high. I mean, there's no risk actually, when you're talking about the pregnancy.
If a patient is on RIF based AKT and on DTG lopinavir ritonavir, then DTG should be given in BD dose plus also super boost lopinavir ritonavir.
Yeah, for rifabutin. In such cases, better option will be to arrange for rifabutin.
Yeah. How to manage weight gain in DTG? DTG. Yeah. How to manage weight gain in DTG?
Patient should be advised for proper exercise and diet. That's very important. Other than that, no other considerations are there.
Yeah. Can we prescribe
but
TLD?
They should do some yoga or exercise.
Can we prescribe TLD as a PEP drug?
Yes, TLD is a preferred drug if a patient is more than 10 years and 30 kg.
Just as
only
we are...
just for clarification, so ma'am, Dr. Chinmay, that OM will be sent separately, or they can...
Yeah, no, right now you're not going to anyway start till you get an OM. Yeah.
Just as we are shifting ZLN failure to TLD, are we also going to shift ZLD for TLE failures?
Mm-hmm.
Will it be TLE to ZLD also later?
So if a patient is failing on TLE, obviously, okay, so I mean, right now the order does not say, but I think NACO is planning to give you guidance in this regard. So somebody who is failing would have to be shifted, as per the current line, it has to be a PI-based regimen, but NACO would be soon sending the order in this regard.
Those are the questions for now.
So there are still some queries where you might have to wait for some orders that are issued by NACO. So based on the whatever regimen discussions we had in this presentation, that is based on the orders which have already been issued. So right now, please go ahead. Maybe within a couple of weeks, you should be getting more clarity on the few queries that you have. So all these are still under process. Plus, the job aids and all will also have many of these queries, additional queries that you all have flagged out today. That was really nice. Keep asking questions, because that helps us to also refine and revise and review our regimens. And please also keep flagging up whatever issues you find while implementing these orders. So yes, Dr. Anwar, Dr. Reshu, over to you.
No, again, thank you very much, Dr. Chinmay and Dr. Reshu and Dr. Rewari. Rewari sir had to leave for another call. So in absentia, we thank him a lot for
Yeah, I
joining into
thank
this
Dr.
session.
Rewari very much. And thank you, Dr. Reshu. Thank you, Dr. Anwar.
Thanks.
So thank you
Thank you very
everyone
much.
who all participated so actively. And maybe next month we'll have the next NDLS, which will be based on more guidance and more clarity that we are having. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.